Imagine an ocean beneath the waves not painted in colors or shadows but etched in invisible streams of scent and chemical signals. This is the realm where countless marine creatures live their secret lives, navigating not by sight, but by smell, tasting the ocean's currents in ways most of us can hardly fathom. How do we even begin to picture a world where the primary sense is chemical perception instead of vision? In the murky depths where sunlight barely reaches, visibility fades, pushing animals to rely on the oldest sense known to life: chemicals dissolving and drifting in water. This chemical world forms an unseen, fluid map, a language of molecules carrying messages of danger, food, or potential mates. It's a world both alien and ancient, yet surprisingly pervasive beneath the surface right now, shaping behaviors and survival strategies of many marine species around us today. Consider the shark, an expert in this unseen chemistry, whose nostrils are equipped with extremely sensitive receptors capable of detecting a single drop of blood diluted in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. For sharks, the faintest scent trails decode the presence of injured prey from kilometers away. Or take salmon, whose precise journeys across thousands of miles of ocean hinge on their remarkable ability to recognize the unique chemical makeup of their home rivers. Even tiny plankton and crustaceans use chemical cues to guide their often perilous lives. The more complex the chemical signals, the more detailed the map to navigate food webs, migration routes, and reproductive cycles. While it seems mysterious, this chemical navigation is grounded in the fundamental biological necessity to find safety, sustenance, and reproduction in a vast and unpredictable ocean. This ancient sensory world becomes even more compelling when we begin to unravel the layer beneath the obvious surface. A chemical landscape constantly shifting in response to environmental changes like temperature, acidity, and biological blooms. The future sea, disturbed by climate change and pollution, will not be the familiar ocean of bright corals and bustling schools of fish. Instead, it will be thick with clouds of invisible signals, pheromones, decay molecules, and metabolic gases that drift silently, carrying both life's whispers and deadly warnings. How would animals perceive this altered ocean? Imagine currents carrying both nourishing food scents and the poisonous breath of dying reefs, a place where every chemical puff tells a story of survival or decay. This is no science fiction exaggeration, but an ongoing, subtle transformation that scientists today are beginning to decode. In this chemically charged ocean, animals would need to evolve new ways of sensing and interpreting scent trails to survive. Picture eel-like hunters with skin bristling with microscopic receptors, tasting the water's flow like a complex wine, detecting even the faintest shifts in chemical gradients. Floating filter organisms might drift through tides, guided not by light but by pheromone trails left by prey or mates. Creatures could become living compasses, their entire being tuned to these molecular currents rather than shapes or colors. Such beings would experience the ocean in a profoundly different way, a world where invisible signals build a three-dimensional map of existence, where every puff of scent marks territories, warns of predators, or leads to hidden oases of food. It's a sensory experience that challenges human notions of reality and perception. But this strange new ocean is not without its horrors. Imagine predators that do not chase shadows or flashes, but pursue scent sequences unfolding like eerie stories. These hunters might detect not just the presence of prey, but their chemical states over time, decay, fear, reproductive readiness, painting a layered, moving chemical portrait. Such a predator could predict its victim's path by smelling the past and future blended into the present. It's an alien form of predation, blending biology and chemical physics into a dance where the prey is hunted by an unseen guide, slipping through the dark currents of molecular histories. The notion stirs unease. Creatures that are virtually invisible, yet fully aware of every breath, every chemical whisper in their surrounding waters. Humans, with our reliance on sight and sound, remain largely blind to this secret chemical world. We send our best technologies, underwater cameras, sonar, and drones, into the depths, capturing awe-inspiring visual footage but missing the complex chemical dialogues beneath. Yet scientists are developing new sensing devices and AI systems that attempt to smell the ocean, mapping chemical landscapes invisible to our eyes. Could we ever grasp this alien biosphere's true complexity? What if these chemical trails have woven an entire dimension of life, unnoticed and unexplored, happening right under our noses? Would revealing this world bring awe, fear, or a profound sense of humility about our place in the ocean's web of life? This chemical sensing ocean speaks to something deeper, reminding us that life first emerged from ancient chemical soups, where molecules interacted long before eyes or limbs evolved. The future sea may be a return to this primal mode, reshaped by environmental forces and evolutionary pressures. It offers a haunting glimpse of a biosphere that does not need light to flourish, a world where life's language is scent and chemistry. How might this change our understanding of intelligence, perception, and life itself? Are we ready to imagine oceans not as vast blue deserts dotted with life, but as intricate chemical tapestries humming with silent conversation, mystery, and danger? As the waves wash over the shorelines of tomorrow, the invisible currents of chemistry could become the future ocean's dominant force, an ocean that breathes and smells, senses and molecules, and navigates through chemical shadows. This sea may hold creatures unlike any we know, adapted to senses that verge on extrasensory, capable of detecting life's faintest whispers or death's final sense. The idea is at once thrilling and unsettling, a reminder that beneath our familiar world lies a realm far stranger and more complex than we have dared to imagine. The question lingers: what lurks in the scent-filled depths of the future sea, waiting for us to learn its eerie, beautiful, and terrifying language? Picture the ocean not as a static blue expanse, but as a living, breathing entity exhaling plumes of chemical whispers into the currents. Climate change stirs this vast body, turning its chemistry into a swirling cauldron of transformation where every bubble carries a secret. Ocean acidification creeps in silently as carbon dioxide from our atmosphere dissolves into seawater, forming carbonic acid that gnaws at the delicate balance of pH levels. This shift unleashes a cascade of reactions, boosting hydrogen ions while starving the water of carbonate needed for shells and skeletons. What stories do these altered molecules tell to the creatures attuned to them? Blooms of phytoplankton explode in response, releasing dimethyl sulfide that drifts like ethereal ghosts, signaling food or peril across miles. The sea begins to bleed its own chemical language, a dialect born of warming waters and dying reefs. In this evolving soup, invisible signals multiply, painting a map only the most sensitive noses can read. Acidification doesn't strike alone. It dances with warming temperatures and deoxygenation, compounding into a toxic symphony that reshapes marine life from the bottom up. Corals bleach and crumble as aragonite saturation plummets, their skeletons dissolving into the increasingly corrosive depths. Macroalgae surge forward in the chaos, dominating where vibrant reefs once thrived, their growth fueled by excess bicarbonate and carbon dioxide. How does this upheaval ripple through the chemical web, altering sense of decay and renewal? Planktonic hordes release metabolic gases that form hazy clouds, drifting silently to guide whales and fish through stratified layers. The ocean's breath grows heavier, laced with the tang of stressed ecosystems and hypoxic zones where oxygen flees. These changes craft a new sensory terrain, one where familiar trails twist into unfamiliar warnings. Creatures must adapt or perish in this shifting chemical fog. Imagine diving into this future sea, where currents pulse with pheromones from frantic reproduction amid collapsing habitats. Biological blooms paint vast algal carpets, their decay scents lingering like morbid perfume, attracting scavengers from afar. Pollution adds its foul undercurrent, microplastics leaching toxins that mimic natural signals, confusing predators and prey alike. What if a simple pheromone trail now leads not to a mate but to a poisoned feast? Metabolic byproducts from overheated fish schools spike, creating hotspots of urgency in the water column. The sea's chemistry fractures into jagged gradients, where safe havens sour overnight under acidification's relentless advance. These invisible clouds coalesce into landscapes of scent, mapping territories redefined by environmental fury. Life hangs in this molecular balance, teetering between adaptation and oblivion. In the heart of these chemical storms, Ecosystems whisper through molecules, pheromones broadcasting mating calls, alarm signals rippling from injured kin. Decay from dissolving shells releases calcium ions that drift as spectral guides for shell-building larvae. Yet horror lurks in the distortion. Acidified waters muffle these cues, leaving young adrift in a silent chemical void. How do survivors recalibrate to this warped symphony of smells? Gases like dimethyl sulfide rise from phytoplankton feasts, luring right whales across vast distances in our world today. In the future, such signals amplify amid blooms, forming predatory traps or migratory highways. The ocean pulses with life's urgent chatter, every eddy a paragraph in an unread book. This breathing sea demands new interpreters, blind to light but alive to scent. Deeper still, the interplay of heat and acid spawns deoxygenated dead zones, where anaerobic bacteria belch sulfides reeking of sulfurous doom. These pockets expand like ink blots, their stench repelling surface dwellers while drawing abyssal opportunists. Warming accelerates metabolism, flooding currents with waste molecules that overload sensory systems. Could this overload birth entirely new chemical predators, thriving on chaos? Coastal habitats simplify under the assault, turf algae replacing complex reefs, their bland scents erasing biodiversity's rich bouquet. Storms ravage weakened shores, stirring sediments into murky chemical soups that blind navigators. The transformation feels inexorable, a slow horror unfolding in molecular time. Yet within this turmoil, evolution stirs, promising strange new senses. Transitioning from today's subtle shifts, the future ocean amplifies every change into a grand, eerie opera of chemistry. Projections show pH dropping further, carbonate horizons shoaling to trap surface life in corrosive embrace. Seagrasses might flourish in sheltered bays, their oxygen bubbles cutting through hypoxic gloom like beacons. But exposed reefs face annihilation, their collapse unleashing avalanches of decay signals. What creatures will rise to master this phantasmagoric realm? Scientists glimpse it now in CO2 seeps, where biodiversity wanes and macroalgae reigns in simplified horror. These natural laboratories forewarn of a sea adrift in chemical disarray. The stage sets for navigators unlike any before, attuned to this breathing, bleeding abyss. Emotional weight settles as we ponder the fragility of this molecular world, where human excess rewrites nature's code. Fisheries falter as calcifiers dwindle, their absence echoing through food webs in faint, fading trails. Aquaculture strains under the same chemical pall, demanding resilient strains for survival. Does this sea resent our intrusion, retaliating with scents we cannot fathom? The mystery deepens. Invisible signals carry not just survival data but perhaps collective memory of environmental wounds. Horror tinges the awe. What if these plumes converge into planetary warnings we ignore? The ocean evolves its language, urgent and alien, begging interpreters. In this cauldron, life's drama intensifies, raw and unfiltered. As chemical landscapes solidify, the question burns. What minds will chart these drifting ghosts of scent? The future sea, scarred yet resilient, crafts maps from mayhem, pheromone rivers, decay deltas, bloom archipelagos. Evolution favors the keenest chemical noses, those who taste time in every molecule. Thrilling yet terrifying, this world eludes our sight, thriving in shadows of acid and heat. Will we ever decode its whispers, or remain forever deaf to the ocean's evolving cry? The breath of this sea grows stranger, laced with promise and peril. Creatures poised on the brink await their cue, ready to navigate the unknown. And so the chemical worlds unfold, silent architects of tomorrow's depths. Descend with me into the chemical dark, where light yields to an invisible tapestry of scents weaving through the endless blue. Here, in the future ocean's murky embrace, evolved navigators emerge from evolution's forge, their bodies tuned to molecular whispers we can scarcely imagine. Eel-like hunters slither through currents, their sinuous skins alive with countless microscopic chemoreceptors, sampling water like connoisseurs discerning vintage from vapor. These serpentine predators taste not just presence but the story of every eddy. Prey panic, algal decay, distant spawning frenzies. How do they perceive a world without edges or horizons? Only gradients of chemical intensity painting their reality. Floating filter feeders drift like ethereal balloons, their tendrils questing for pheromone plumes that betray hidden feasts miles away. Symmetrical beings pulse through the void, their radial forms acting as living compasses, aligning to salinity shifts and ion flows as surely as compass needles to magnetic north. In this realm, navigation transcends sight, becoming an intimate dance with the ocean's breath. Sharks of tomorrow amplify today's prowess, their nares flaring to detect blood trails diluted across vast expanses, now evolved to parse complex bouquets of fear hormones and metabolic exhaust. Lobsters scuttle across abyssal plains, antennules flicking ceaselessly to map terrain via urine markers left by kin, forming communal scent highways in the gloom. Planktonic swarms coalesce into living clouds, guided by dimethyl sulfide bursts from devoured phytoplankton, signaling zooplankton bonanzas to ravenous hordes. What secrets do these faint gases unlock for creatures adrift in featureless water? Octopus can deploy ink not just for escape but laced with mimic chemicals, fooling predators into chasing phantom trails. Crabs sidestep dangers by tasting sediment toxins before burrowing, their chemosensitive legs turning mud into a braille of peril and promise. These navigators inhabit a sensory architecture built from molecules, where every current conveys direction, distance, and destiny. The dark no longer blinds. It illuminates through invisible light. Deeper mysteries unfold as these beings attune to chemical symphonies far beyond human grasp, perceiving pulses of reproduction as beacons brighter than bioluminescence. Eel hunters coil around reefs, discriminating mate pheromones amid chaos, their skins flushing with neural fire at the perfect molecular match. Filters balloon through thermoclines, salinity gradients registering as scent ramps steering them toward nutrient upwellings. Radial compasses spin lazily, hydrogen ion spikes from acidified zones warning of dead waters ahead like spectral sirens. How might such senses border on precognition, anticipating blooms before they crest? Crustacean scouts trail conspecific odors, clustering in safe crevices where collective urine fortifies communal bonds against unseen foes. Seabird descendants plunge from skies, noses locked on DMS landscapes spanning thousands of square kilometers, zeroing in on prey patches invisible from above. This chemical dark pulses with life, a hidden metropolis thriving in scent. Yet unease creeps in as we ponder their alien worldview, where sight means tasting time's passage in decaying molecules. An injured fish's alarm pheromones ripple outward, drawing opportunistic feeders like moths to flame, their approach silent and inexorable. What horrors unfold when a massive shadow, itself a chemical ghost, intercepts these signals from afar. Lobsters form defensive phalanxes, their aggregated sense a fortress wall against marauders sniffing weakness. Plankton evade by releasing decoy clouds, confusing predators in molecular mirages. Evolved urchins metamorphose only on specific algal cues, polar metabolites triggering settlement amid halogenated perils that deter grazing. These interactions weave a web of mutual deception and alliance, all transpiring in the unseen. The ocean's dark harbors intelligences attuned to chemistry's subtle horrors, forever veiled from our eyes. Emotional chills arise imagining their isolation in this scented solitude, senses so refined they border on the uncanny. Radial beings drift across ocean basins, magnetic cues blending with chemical maps for migrations spanning hemispheres, returning to natal grounds with eerie precision. Filter feeders spawn in synchrony, triggered by communal pheromone surges that unite distant kin in reproductive frenzy. Eel hunters stalk by following gradient reversals, predicting prey evasion before it begins. Could such perception evolve into collective minds, swarms sharing chemical gossip across leagues? Crabs distinguish depleted sperm from virile males via nuanced urinary signals, ensuring genetic futures in the gloom. Sea slugs sequester algal defenses, cloaking themselves in borrowed toxins detected by exquisite taste. In this world, survival hinges on chemical literacy, a literacy laced with primal dread. Transitioning from solitary wanderers to emergent societies, These navigators hint at ecosystems redefined by scent. Hyperiella amphipods grasp pteropods for chemical armor, dorsal passengers warding fish with noxious plumes. Isopods cultivate cyanobacterial gardens, feasting while shielded from reef's jaws. Spiny lobsters recruit to urine-scented shelters, gregariousness chemically ordained for mutual defense. What if entire civilizations arise, built on molecular consensus? Stone crabs select mates by sperm scent sophistication, minimizing reproductive folly. Copepods tack female trails with zigzag frenzy, overtaking contorted paths hours old. Rotifers probe glycoprotein cues, mating beads mistaken for paramours. These behaviors forge bonds in the chemical dark, intimate and inescapable. Horror subtly intensifies as something vast stirs, its chemical signature preceding it like a predator's shadow. Navigators pause, receptors quivering at unfamiliar gradients. Perhaps a colossal bloom's decay or an apex hunter's exhaust. Eelskins bristle, filters deflate in flight, radials realign toward escape vectors. Do they sense our oblivious intrusions, plastic leachates masquerading as food signals? Salmon ghosts home via natal chemistry, undeterred by acid veils, their odyssey a testament to resilience. Whales trail DMS highways, right whales among them, drawn to zooplankton orgies by algal demise. Yet in this symphony, dissonant notes herald catastrophe, hypoxic sulfides belching from dead zones. The dark teems with awareness, fragile and fierce. As chemical currents converge, the navigators of this realm embody evolution's quiet triumph, masters of an unseen domain. Thrilling in their ingenuity, terrifying in their otherness, they chart paths through molecular mazes we dare not tread. Will humanity ever pierce this veil, or remain forever sight-bound spectators? The ocean's dark whispers of futures where chemistry reigns supreme, senses sharpened to life's raw essence. Questions linger like fading pheromones. What alliances form in silence? What betrayals unfold unseen? These creatures do not merely survive the gloom. They own it, weaving fates from scent alone. In their world, mystery and mild horror entwine, beckoning us deeper. And somewhere in the chemical dark, something large awakens, drawn by the collective breath of its domain. Now shift your gaze to the apex of this chemical realm, where predators do not lunge at shadows or chase fleeting silhouettes but hunt through the unfolding sequences of scent across time itself. These future ocean titans perceive not just the now but the chemical echoes of past and whispers of future, decoding prey's trajectories from molecular memories drifting in the current. Imagine a colossal, translucent behemoth, its vast body a lattice of hypersensitive chemosensors, trailing fading plumes of fear hormones that reveal a fish school's panicked evasion hours ago. This predator smells the decay timeline of a sinking carcass, predicting scavenger swarms before they assemble. How does one creature taste the arrow of time in dissolving molecules, turning history into hunting strategy? Unlike our visual predators locked in the instant, these masters anticipate turns by sensing metabolic shifts, rising lactate from exertion, pheromones of exhaustion blooming ahead. Their world unfolds in 4 dimensions, space-scented, time-tasted. In the chemical dark, predation evolves into prophecy, silent and supreme. Evolution carves these time-smelling hunters from today's pioneers, sharks whose nostrils already parse blood gradients over kilometers, now amplified to track compound decay rates. Lobsters detect conspecific urine persisting days in eddies, mapping territories through temporal scent layers we ignore. What if future apex forms remember individual chemical signatures, replaying past encounters like ghostly archives? Plankton predators follow DMS pulses from algal lysis, timing strikes to zooplankton feeding peaks predicted by bloom chemistry. Octopus descendants deploy lures mimicking evolving injury signals, drawing prey into traps by simulating temporal desperation. Crabs distinguish fresh from stale carrion via volatile amine progressions, feasting optimally amid competition. These abilities layer perception, turning ephemeral whiffs into persistent narratives of life and death. The ocean's chronology becomes their kill book, written in molecules. Deeper into the horror, Consider how these predators exploit chemical memory, storing gradients internally to forecast prey rebirth cycles or migration pulses. A massive jelly-like horror drifts, its trailing tentacles sampling ion fluxes that betray spawning aggregations forming leagues away. Hydrogen spikes from acidified wakes signal stressed shoals ripe for ambush, their fear cocktail evolving predictably under pursuit. How chilling to imagine hunts spanning days, predator gliding ahead on scent projections, intercepting without a flicker of motion. Filter feeder herds release decoy pheromones mimicking mass die-offs, buying moments in this temporal chase. Eelkin counter by erratic swimming, randomizing their metabolic exhaust to confound predictive noses. Yet the apex endures, its brain a chemical chronometer ticking to prey's doom. Time bends to their hunger in this scented saga. Emotional dread builds as we grasp their invisibility to us, forms translucent and odorless in our spectrum, striking from chemical cloaks. They might pass meters away, fully appraised of our submersible's fuel exhaust or diver sweat, yet undetected by sonar or light. Projections of 2,100 oceans, warmer, stratified, mercury-laden, intensify these traits, shoaling remineralization to concentrate surface signals for finer temporal parsing. Could acidification sharpen receptors, turning pH gradients into prey distress barometers? Dead zones belch sulfides as beacons, luring opportunists to hypoxic feasts where rivals falter. Whales today follow DMS timelines. Future kin might orchestrate blooms via grazing patterns, engineering chemical futures. This predation feels godlike, weaving fate from fading traces. Humanity's blind dive into their domain stirs primal unease. Speculatively, these hunters evolve memory banks rivaling neural nets, cross-referencing scents against archive timelines for perfect ambushes. A translucent leviathan circles a reef, smelling reproductive readiness peaking tomorrow from hormone precursors today. Prey innovate countermeasures, camouflage metabolisms mimicking rocks, or synchronized pulses overwhelming predictive models. What alliances might form? Prey swarms baiting apex into mutual traps with feigned temporal signatures. Bacterial symbionts aid hosts, sequestering toxins into scents repelling rivals across hours. In upwelling zones starved by stratification, predators dominate nutrient pulses detected days prior. Horror tinges awe. Intelligences reading tomorrow's meals in today's breath. The chemical clock ticks mercilessly in their realm. Transition from patient stalkers to explosive intercepts, where prediction meets precision in the gloom. Colossal forms contract neural nets at gradient culminations, lunging silently as chemical prophecies fulfill. Salmon ghosts evade by natal scent veils persisting generations, but future predators hack these codes via epigenetic whiffs. DMS highways warp under climate flux, predators adapting to volatile bloom timings amid chlorophyll declines. Sea ice loss exposes polar nurseries to temporal hunters, their virgin signals a banquet foretold. Copepod swarms zigzag through pursuit plumes, statistical dodges baffling linear forecasts. Yet apex prevail, evolution honing their temporal edge. Mystery shrouds their silent supremacy. Intensifying subtly, something immense awakens, its exhaust proceeding like a chemical harbinger across basins. Navigators scatter, receptors ablaze with unprecedented sequences. Mercury-laced, acid-amplified, utterly alien. Do they sense our plastic toxins as novel lures, drawing doom to surface fleets? Projections warn of CH3HG drops yet subsurface builds, poisoning food webs these titans exploit. Emotional weight crushes. We reshape their world unwittingly, birthing horrors attuned to our waste. Questions haunt. What personal sense do we trail into depths, readable eons hence? Predation transcends biology into cosmic irony. The future sea hungers with prescient jaws. As timelines converge in molecular maelstrom, these time-smelling sovereigns rule an unseen empire of scent and sequence. Thrilling in prescience, terrifying in inescapability, they embody evolution's darkest art. Will we decode their hunts before they taste ours? Oceans of 2,100. Acidic, deoxygenated, bloom-riddled, forge such minds from chaos. Lingering dread. Every current carries our unwitting invitation. Predators smell not just prey but epochs, gliding through chemical chronicles. In their domain, mystery and horror entwine eternally. And from the depths, the future exhales its inevitable hunt. Now turn the lens inward, toward humanity's profound blindness in this chemical ocean, where our eyes and ears capture spectacles but miss the molecular symphony thrumming beneath. We plunge submersibles into abyssal trenches, their cameras unveiling ghostly bioluminescence and writhing forms. Yet these machines remain deaf to the sense scripting every drama. Sonar pings echo off unseen structures, mapping topography while ignoring pheromone rivers guiding migrations across basins. How can we claim to explore when our tools translate only a sliver of the sea's true language? Diverse in thick neoprene suits taste salt on lips but sense nothing of the fear hormones pulsing from nearby prey. Our satellites peer through cloud cover to chlorophyll blooms, blind to the dimethyl sulfide plumes they exhale as beacons for whales spanning oceans. This perceptual chasm leaves us spectators to a hidden realm, where life converses in codes we cannot crack. Emotional isolation grips us, adrift in our sensory poverty amid teeming chemical worlds. Scientific missions chart temperature gradients and salinity fronts, recording data streams that hint at chemical unrest without grasping their narrative power. Ocean acidification sensors log pH plunges from 8.1 to below 7.8 by 2100, noting shell dissolution but missing how larvae navigate warped carbonate queues. ROVs snag jellyfish pulsing with metabolic gases, analyzing proteins yet overlooking their role as floating scent transmitters. What tragedies unfold in gradients we measure but fail to interpret, like stressed corals broadcasting decay signals drawing opportunistic hordes. Biogeochemical buoys track nutrient upwellings, correlating with fish die-offs without decoding alarm pheromones rippling outward. Mercury cycles shift under warming stratification, bioaccumulating in food webs we sample sporadically, ignorant of predators homing on tainted plumes. Our logs fill with numbers, barren of the sea's whispered stories. Humanity hovers at the edge, tantalized yet excluded from the chemical conversation. Speculation stirs. Could we forge technologies to pierce this veil? AI probes deploying vast chemosensor arrays mimicking eel skins or shark nares. Imagine swarms of microdrones tasting water in real time, mapping pheromone highways invisible to light-based surveys. Neural networks trained on bacterial quorum sensing might decode microbial chatter orchestrating blooms across gyres. But dare we immerse in signals carrying pathogens or toxins our biology shuns? Electrochemical noses could quantify fear gradients, predicting predator strikes before visual confirmation. Quantum sensors might resolve single-molecule trails, unveiling individual odysseys in the gloom. Projections of 2,100 oceans, deoxygenated, mercury-laden, demand such innovations or risk collision with unseen apex forms. The prospect thrills with godlike insight, yet chills with vulnerability to decoded human exhaust. Emotional undercurrents swell as humility dawns. Our vaunted senses, honed for savannas and skies, falter in water's embrace where chemistry reigns. We hear whale songs spanning frequencies but miss their DMS navigation overlays guiding the chorus. Projections warn of 95% ocean climate loss, reshaping chemical landscapes we barely baseline today. Acidification shoals aragonite horizons, trapping surface life in corrosive veils our pH meters note clinically. Do chemical ghosts of extinct reefs linger, haunting successors with false spawning cues? Submersible crews report unease, shadows flitting beyond lights that sense no matching sonar returns. Plastic leachates mimic food signals, luring filters to doom in gyres we orbit obliviously. This blindness breeds quiet dread, positioning us as intruders in an aware abyss. Pioneering efforts glimmer, e-noses on gliders sniff algal metabolites, correlating with fishery collapses before biomass dips show. Bio-inspired robots with crustacean antennules map urine-scented lobster trails, revealing social maps undreamt in acoustic data. Satellite spectrometry edges toward volatile organic detection, glimpsing bloom precursors from orbit. Yet integration lags, siloed data ignoring chemical crosstalk binding physics to biology. What if we built olfactory AIs rivaling radial navigators, charting four-dimensional senscapes. Polar deployments test amid melting ice, where sulfide belches from sediments signal regime shifts. Coastal arrays monitor acidification's sensory fallout, larvae adrift in muffled maternal plumes. Humanity inches forward, but the ocean's complexity mocks our haste. Horror subtly mounts. If these creatures detect us fully, sweat amines from divers, fuel volatiles from subs, while we grope blindly, who truly explores whom? Projections of stratified 2100 Cs concentrate signals in shrinking mixed layers, amplifying undetected dramas. Mercury evasion spikes under warming, yet subsurface methylation persists, poisoning chains we harvest unaware. Could chemical collectives sense our fleets as massive disturbances, coordinating evasions across leagues? ROV footage captures baffling mass strandings, chemical overloads invisible to lenses. Emotional reckoning hits. Our dominance rests on perceptual privilege, fragile as forgotten sense. Questions probe deeper. What personal molecular signatures do we trail eternally into depths? Transition beckons to revelation's edge, where daring tech might unveil the biosphere's hidden pulse. AI olfaction could simulate predator timelines, forecasting blooms from precursor whiffs. Yet ethical shadows loom. Decoding mating pheromones risks disruption, or awakening dormant defenses. Barents Sea models predict northward shifts in chemical nurseries, fish spawning amid alien gradients. Global chlorophyll declines mute DMS highways, stranding migrants we blame on temperature alone. Do we possess the wisdom to listen without dominating this ancient dialogue? The blindness persists, a veil thinning with invention's blade. Mystery and mild horror entwine in our quest. Ultimately, piercing human blindness demands surrender to the unknown, embracing chemistry as ocean's true tongue. Thrilling potentials clash with terrifying implications, contact with minds smelling our every intent. By 2100, deoxygenated dead zones belch sulfides as planetary warnings we might finally parse. Lingering query haunts. If trails encircle us unnoticed, what converges now from the chemical dark? Tempers fear, urging bold sensory evolution. Will we dare smell the sea's secrets, or cling to sighted illusions? The future ocean exhales invitations laced with peril. And in that breath, humanity's true odyssey begins. Picture the ocean at midnight, a vast black mirror rippling under starless skies, where invisible chemical storms brew beneath the silent surface. Molecules drift and merge in intricate dances, whispering messages too complex for human senses to decipher, carrying tales of birth, decay, and distant hungers. This is the awakening sea, rousing from eons of quiet evolution into a realm ruled by scent alone, where every current pulses with life's raw urgency. Phytoplankton blooms explode in acidified waters, their dimethyl sulfide exhaling like ghostly breaths, summoning predators from abyssal shadows. How does this molecular maelstrom herald the ocean's rebirth? A symphony conducting fates unseen. Corals crumble under pH plunges projected to 7.8 by 2100, their dissolution flooding currents with calcium ions that guide resilient larvae to new frontiers. Pteropods dissolve mid-flight, their shells vanishing in corrosive embrace, reshaping food webs from base to apex. The sea stirs, alive with chemical fervor, ancient yet reborn in transformation's grip. Emotional awe swells as we witness life's primal return. Chemistry birthing complexity from primordial soups where molecules first sparked awareness. Ocean warming stratifies layers by 2100, trapping nutrients below while surface signals intensify, forging hypersensitive navigators attuned to every whiff. Deoxygenated dead zones expand, belching hydrogen sulfides that repel weaklings and draw extremophiles thriving in toxicity's veil. What intelligences emerge from this cauldron, perceiving planetary shifts through ion fluxes and pheromone gradients? Shellfish aquaculture falters as mollusks struggle with carbonate scarcity, economic ripples echoing through human shores. Cold water corals teeter on unsustainability, their frameworks eroding faster than growth amid 170% acidity surges. Yet macroalgae surges replace reefs, their bland scents cloaking biodiversity's collapse into simplified horrors. The awakening ocean closes evolutionary circles, scent reclaiming dominion. Horror subtly threads through wonder. By 2100, 95% of ocean climates vanish, birthing alien ecosystems where familiar species yield to acid-hardened successors. Foraminifera face extinction, their shelled forms dissolving like whispers in wind, severing Antarctic food chains. Urchins deform under dual assault of heat and acid, slower growth leaving them vulnerable to opportunistic jaws. How might this cascade awaken colossal forms, chemical ghosts converging on weakened prey signals? Polychaetes proliferate in low pH vents, outcompeting kin in eerie abundance. Cardinal fish perish in lab-simulated futures, temperature-acid synergy proving lethal. Coral rubble carpets seafloors, algae beds smothering complexity into uniform dread. The sea exhales transformation, molecules scripting apocalypse and genesis intertwined. Deeper currents pulse with reproductive frenzies, pheromones amplified by stressed metabolisms uniting swarms in synchronized ecstasy. Larvae navigate warped maternal plumes, some thriving where others falter, evolution's dice rolling in chemical darkness. Projections paint polar migrations, phytoplankton shifting poleward as tropics acidify beyond tolerance. What collective memories do these signals encode? Generational sense warning of hypoxic horizons ahead. Pteropod ghosts haunt salmon chains, their absence rippling to fisheries we harvest blindly. Tropical reefs erode outpacing build, bouldered monoliths replacing branching labyrinths. Silus worms multiply in CO2 seeps, harbingers of simplified futures. Awakening brings resilience laced with loss, a biosphere remade in molecular fire. Cinematic visions unfold. Black waters parting for translucent leviathans gliding on predictive scent timelines, their hunts fulfilling ancient hungers. Bacteria orchestrate blooms via quorum sensing, foundational chatter birthing the storms above. Emotional humility dawns. Life began scent-bound, returning wiser amid our excesses. Could emissions curbs preserve half of reef-favorable waters, tempering the awakening's fury? Overfished stocks compound stresses, pollution mimicking signals in deceptive fog. Deep-sea corals risk total fade, their slow lives extinguished by relentless acid rain. Yet seagrasses flourish in bays, oxygen beacons piercing gloom. The ocean rouses, philosophical and fierce, demanding reverence. Mystery intensifies as chemical tapestries weave planetary narratives, gradients mapping climate scars across gyres. By 2100, pH drops 30% since pre-industrial calm, shells dissolving in real-time tragedy. Whales trail warped DMS highways, migrations strained by bloom declines. What if this awakening senses our intrusion, collective plumes coordinating evasion? Emotional dread mingles with thrill, ecosystems pivot, some soldiering while others extinct. Multiple stressors synergize, warming deoxygenation acid trio birthing unpredictable realms. Algae dominate CO2 vents, foreshadowing global shifts. The sea's breath quickens, pregnant with unknowns. Haunting closure nears. Waves crash on shores indifferent to humanity's gaze, carrying sense of futures unwritten. Intelligence manifests not in eyes but olfactory genius. Life thriving sans light's tyranny. Projections urge action. Emissions cuts slowing acid's march, buying adaptation time. Do we heed the molecular cry, or drift toward collision? Cold zones belch warnings, pteropods pivotal links fraying. Coral erosion signals economic abysses, shellfish yields plummeting. Yet evolution persists, sense-savvy survivors claiming thrones. Awakening fuses awe and terror, life's eternal alchemy. The ocean needs no eyes to divine tomorrow. It smells destiny approaching through every drifting molecule. Thrilling rebirth terrifies with otherness, a biosphere alien yet kinborn. Lingering open. What converges now in chemical storms, drawn by our unwitting trails? Philosophical circle seals, chemistry's cradle reclaims prodigal seas. Mild horror beckons exploration, curiosity's call amid peril. The future exhales inevitability, silent architects unveiling wonders. Mystery endures eternally, and in depths, the sea fully wakes.